Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendan Traxler.
All right, diving in. Today we're going deep, underwater actually, to explore this company, ArkPad.
ArkPad.
Yeah, they're all about making, well, living on the ocean a reality.
Huh. Not just like a houseboat kind of thing?
No, think bigger. We've got all this research on their innovations.
Okay, like what?
Hurricane-proof homes that float, fish farms that double as villages.
Yeah.
Even luxury resorts with, get this, returns that could rival real estate on land.
That's a lot to unpack. So are they just, building stuff, or is there a bigger plan?
That's what's so interesting. They seem to be aiming for a whole self-sustaining ecosystem for living on the ocean.
Wow. Okay, so where do we even begin?
Let's start with the basics. Their ArkPad-C, it's like a personal island.
A whole island.
Well, a floating platform, but yeah. And get this, it's made of concrete.
Concrete out on the ocean.
Not just any concrete. They've developed this seasteading cement, twice as strong, supposedly, and designed to last in salt water for, like, decades.
Huh. Interesting. But wouldn't you just be isolated out there on your concrete island?
That's the cool part. They can actually connect these ArkPad-C units together.
Really?
Yeah, so you form these larger floating communities, share resources like water, electricity.
So it's about like community resilience as much as individual homes.
Exactly. And they're built to withstand like hurricane force winds.
That's pretty impressive. But I gotta ask, how much does one of these things cost?
Right. I mean, is this just for the super rich?
Yeah.
Well, a base unit starts at $165,000.
Okay. That's not cheap.
No, it's not. But compare that to housing in a lot of coastal cities,
True.
and it starts to look a bit more attainable, especially with, potential long-term savings and the whole climate change resilience thing.
Yeah, I guess if sea levels keep rising, this could be a solution, even for affordable housing.
Right. It makes you wonder. But, okay, you got your home, but what about food? How do these ocean communities eat?
That's where their Hexafarm comes in. It's their take on aquaculture, but way more advanced.
Okay, so not just fish in cages.
No, they use this method called polyculture. It's about creating a whole balanced ecosystem with multiple species.
So like a mini floating ecosystem.
Exactly. There's a central cage for fish, like milkfish, grouper, then a ring around that for seaweed and shellfish.
Wow.
And they even have space for lobsters on the bottom.
Multi-level integrated farm right on the ocean.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But do people actually live on these fish farms?
That's the coolest part. Living spaces can be integrated right into the structure. Imagine fresh seafood, like right at your doorstep.
A modern-day fishing village, but like eco-conscious.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, but let's talk about their Reef Resort. This one seems more, well, luxury-focused.
Yeah, the Reef Resort is definitely more high-end. Think overwater bungalows, stunning views. It's near Davao City in the Philippines.
In-resort fishing, diving, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all that. And they're pitching it as an investment opportunity.
Right, they've got projections for rental income. You can buy full or partial ownership.
Exactly.
But being out on the ocean like that, wouldn't you worry about, typhoons, earthquakes?
Yeah, that's a good point. But they claim to have addressed that in their designs. The Reef Resort's in a spot with fewer typhoons, and being a floating structure, it's inherently earthquake resistant.
Okay, that's reassuring.
They also say they have evacuation plans in place, just in case.
Good to know. What other perks are they offering for potential owners?
Discounted solar electricity, a say in how the resorts run, and you can even sell your ownership later on.
Huh. So it's more than just a vacation spot. They're trying to build a community.
Yeah, a self-governing one with, long-term viability.
It's clear they're thinking big. But they're not just focused on these individual projects, right? They've got other stuff in development.
Yeah, a whole ecosystem of innovations, like their Stead Tokens.
Stead Tokens, what are those?
So it's a blockchain-based crowdfunding platform specifically for seasteading projects.
So you could, crowdfund your own floating home using cryptocurrency.
That's the idea. It's a pretty radical approach to financing.
Wow. Okay, what else is in the works?
They're also really into underwater drones.
Underwater drones.
Yeah.
For, Filming cool stuff.
Not just filming, no. Think, inspecting hulls, cleaning them, manipulating things on the seabed.
Oh, wow.
They can assist with aquaculture, even do underwater surveys.
So essential tools for maintaining these ocean structures.
Exactly. It's like they're creating a whole new way of life from the ground up.
But what about getting around between these communities? Regular boats aren't going to cut it for, like, floating cities.
Right, and they seem to have thought of that. They're developing, get this, ground effect drones for cargo delivery.
Ground effect drones, what are those, like flying boats?
Kind of. They fly close to the water using aerodynamics for better efficiency and speed.
Huh. Like a mix between a plane and a hovercraft.
Yeah. A more sustainable and cost-effective way to move stuff between communities, even from shore.
That's wild. Okay, I also read something about them doing ocean mining. Isn't that controversial?
Yeah, it can be, but they're not doing traditional mining. They're looking at harvesting elements directly from seawater.
Well, like gold.
Not gold, no. Think lithium, rubidium, magnesium. They're in seawater in significant amounts.
Well, they're like mining the ocean itself.
Yeah. The tech's still new, but it could be more sustainable than digging up the earth.
It's like their whole approach is about interconnectedness, right? They're building an ecosystem, not just individual pieces.
Absolutely. They're aiming to change how we live and interact with the ocean on a fundamental level.
That's a pretty remarkable plan. But, I mean, can they really pull it off? What are the challenges they face?
Yeah, that's a big question. Building anything to last in that environment is tough. And what about the ecological impact, the social implications? There's a lot to consider.
Right. It's not just about cool tech. It's about the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive. We'll look at the potential impact of all this, the challenges, the opportunities.
It's going to be fascinating. It's a lot to take in, right? I mean, they've got this grand vision, but there are some pretty big hurdles to overcome.
Like, what are we talking about here? What are the biggest challenges?
Well, just from a technical standpoint, can they actually build these things to last? The ocean's a harsh environment.
Yeah, they talk about their seasteading cement.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how will it hold up over time?
Right. Corrosion, biofouling, the constant pounding of waves, currents.
Yeah, it's going to take some serious engineering.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's not just about building it. It's got to be cost effective, too. Otherwise, this whole thing's a non-starter.
True. Okay, so let's talk about the environmental impact. Building anything out on the ocean, there's got to be concerns about, damage to ecosystems.
Oh, absolutely. You're introducing these large structures. You risk disrupting habitats, impacting marine life.
Right. What about fish migration patterns or creating artificial reefs? Are those good or bad?
And what about pollution? Waste, runoff from these communities? How do they manage all that?
Yeah, they're going to need some serious strategies to mitigate any potential harm.
For sure. And it's not just about the big picture. We got to look at the specifics, too, like their polyculture fish farms.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, the whole multi-species ecosystem thing, but can it actually work on a large scale?
That's the million-dollar question. Can they produce enough food to support, sizable communities?
And can they keep it going long-term? Manage disease outbreaks? Maintain the balance of species?
There's a lot of research and fine-tuning needed to make sure it's truly sustainable.
Okay, so we've talked tech, we've talked environment. What about the social side of things?
Ah, yes. The human element.
I mean, if people start moving to these ocean communities, how does that impact everyone else? Coastal cities? Populations on land?
Right. Will it, relieve pressure on land or just create new problems?
Could it lead to, a brain drain from cities? People with skills and money heading out to sea?
And then there's the whole governance question. Who's in charge out there? National laws, or are these independent entities?
Yeah, there are some serious legal and political knots to untangle.
For sure. And we can't forget the accessibility issue. Is this just another playground for the rich?
Right, or can they actually make it affordable for, regular people?
Well, that's where their Stead Tokens come into play.
Yeah.
They're trying to democratize access with blockchain and crowdfunding.
So you could, invest in a piece of a floating community without needing a ton of money up front.
Exactly. Whether it works or not, it's a pretty innovative approach.
Okay, but what about their long-term vision? What's the end game here?
It's clear they see this as more than just a temporary fix for rising sea levels. They're talking about creating self-sufficient cities on the ocean.
Wow.
Cities with renewable energy, integrated food systems, thriving economies, diverse populations.
It's mind-blowing, but also a little intimidating. Are we really ready for this?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's a bold vision, but we're still in the very early stages.
Yeah, there's a long way to go and a lot of challenges to overcome.
Absolutely. But even if it never becomes mainstream, I think ArkPad's work is making us think differently.
Yeah, it's like, are we going to cling to the old ways or
Yeah.
embrace these new frontiers?
It's a profound question, and ArkPad is forcing us to confront it, whether we like it or not.
So for you, what's the most intriguing aspect of all this? What really grabs your attention?
I think it's the potential for, real innovation, discovery. The ocean's this vast, mysterious space, and as we venture further out, who knows what we'll find.
New technologies, new resources, maybe even new ways of organizing society.
Exactly. Think about new forms of energy, medicines from undiscovered species, even new models for governance. It's incredibly exciting.
Yeah, but it also comes with a responsibility, right, to
Yeah.
do things the right way.
Absolutely. We can't repeat the mistakes of the past. We got to learn to live with the ocean, not just exploit it.
Well said. And it seems like ArkPad's at least trying to do that with their focus on sustainability.
Yeah, they're making an effort. But it's going to take more than just one company. We all need to be part of the solution.
Scientists, engineers, policymakers, everyone. This is bigger than just ArkPad. It's about a collective shift in how we think about our relationship with the planet.
I completely agree. It's about, a new consciousness, a willingness to embrace new ways of being.
Powerful stuff. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we want to hear from you, the listeners. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah. Is ocean living a viable path forward? What excites you? What worries you? Let's keep the conversation going.
Cities rising from the waves. I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie, right?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But, is it really realistic? Could this actually become, a thing?
That's the big question. Is seasteading just a cool idea, or could it actually solve some of the problems we're facing?
Right, we've talked about the potential, but can it actually deliver?
So, what problems are we talking about specifically?
Well, think about housing. Coastal cities are getting crowded, expensive, and then there's sea level rise.
Yeah, not a good combo.
Exactly. So these ocean communities, they could offer affordable, climate-resilient housing.
Okay, that's one thing. But what about sustainability? Can they really live in harmony with the ocean, or is this just going to cause more damage?
Well, that's the key, isn't it? Doing it the right way. Imagine harnessing energy from the sun, waves, tides.
Renewable energy galore.
Exactly. And then growing food sustainably with those polyculture farms.
Minimizing waste, pollution, creating these closed-loop systems.
It's like a chance to start over, design a way of life that's truly eco-conscious.
It's a pretty compelling vision.
Yeah.
But can it also be economically viable? I mean, what about jobs, economic growth?
Well, that's the exciting part. We could see whole new industries emerge, focus on ocean technology, aquaculture.
Renewable energy, underwater tourism even.
Yeah, the possibilities are huge. Designing, building, maintaining these structures, managing sustainable fisheries.
It's like we're not just talking about surviving, we're talking about thriving. A whole new frontier for innovation entrepreneurship.
Exactly. But of course, we got to be careful. We don't want to just recreate the same inequalities we see on land.
Right. The last thing we need is these ocean communities becoming havens for the wealthy while everyone else gets left behind.
Yeah. Equity and inclusivity have to be at the forefront. We need to make sure these opportunities are available to everyone, not just the privileged few.
That Stead Tokens idea is interesting, but it's only part of the solution.
Right. We need to think bigger. How do we govern these communities? What are the rules? How do we protect the environment?
Ensure the well-being of everyone, not just the wealthy. It's a lot to figure out.
Yeah, it's a massive challenge. We need new laws, environmental standards, ways to make fair decisions.
It's like seasteading is forcing us to rethink everything. Society, governance, our relationship with nature.
It's a mind-bending thought experiment, even if, we never actually end up living on floating cities.
It's still pushing us to be more creative, more innovative in how we approach these challenges.
Absolutely. It's about imagining alternative futures, thinking outside the box.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into ArkPad and the future of ocean living.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has. We've explored the potential, the challenges, the sheer audacity of this vision.
And we've only scratched the surface.
Exactly. So we'll leave you with this. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep imagining. The future is out there, waiting to be discovered. And who knows, maybe some of you listening will be the ones to shape it.